Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Nursing with Ingrid. Thank you so much for stopping by yet once again. I hope everybody is doing well. I also want to say thank you very much to each and every one of you for my 800 subscribers as we are recording today. Thank you so much for being patient and walking this journey with me. Today we're going to be discussing how do you prepare for an interview. So now that we've got our CV, it's ready, we've applied, we are waiting for somebody to call us for an interview, and we do get that call that says, yes, can you come through for an interview? So what do we do now? Let me walk you through the steps that are required for you to ace that interview and come out successful on the other side of it. First of all, once you've gotten that phone call to say that you've got an interview, it's usually a couple of days in advance before the interview. So in this time, it gives you the time, the opportunity to go through, and first of all, most importantly, you have to make sure that you research the company. And what I mean when I say research the company, it means that you go onto their website, you understand the company, you know where it comes from, you know what the company is all about, you know what the culture is, and most importantly, you have to look at what their values and what is their mission statement. This is important because it needs to marry with your personal values as well as the company that you are going to be working for. You don't want to go in and work for a company that has totally different values to yourself. So once you're looking on the page and you're getting to know who the company is, please also make sure to take note of who the CEO is, who is all the top people that are managing or running the business that you are potentially applying for, or the one that you are going for an interview for. It's also important to get to know who your interviewer is. Usually there's a panel of people that come in depending on the field in which you are going for an interview. There is always an HR manager or an HR representative. There's also a peer that is in the company that will be sitting in to see if you fit into the company or the division that you're going into. The third person, and the most important person, is the person that is interviewing you, that is going to be your supervisor, your manager, or the director, under which you are going to be working or reporting to as a direct line up. So once you know all these people and what to expect, the next thing you need to look at is the advert itself, the job description itself, and that's where you're going to get the bulk of all the questions that are going to come up in your interview. That is where they're going to come from. They are going to come from the advert that has been put out. So you need to make sure that you go through the advert just the same way with your CV preparation and reconstructing your CV. It's the same way when you're going in for the interview. You've got to make sure that you understand what the job is that you are going for. What are the expectations? What are the key performance areas? Because the questions that you are going to be asked are going to be solely based on those that are described in the advert itself. It's also important for you to also make sure that you know what your division or what your job title is going to be in terms of asking questions, asking around. There's nothing wrong with approaching people that work for the company if you know them and ask them, what is the culture? What is the company like as a whole? What is the atmosphere in the office, or what is the atmosphere in the hospital, depending on which sphere of job you are going into. So then the main thing also you also need to remember is that it's very important to know the company's background. I can't reiterate that anymore. You need to know the company's background, because when you come up into the interview, you've got something to talk about. And remember, the most important thing you need to remember when it comes to the interview is that at the end of the day, the company is interviewing you, and you likewise are interviewing the company, to make sure that you both are on the same page and that you both can go forward in a successful working environment and a successful working relationship. Now, you've studied the advert, you've studied the company, and now it's time for you to think about what you're going to wear when you go for the interview. Make sure that you are looking very professional. Make sure that you are neat and tidy and ironed. That is the main thing. Most importantly, dress conservatively regardless of what the position is. Dress conservatively to be on the safe side. Personally, for me, when I am going for an interview, a nursing interview, I don't go in my uniform because that can sometimes be intimidating, and it may not be what the managing matron or the managing nursing manager is looking for at that point. So I would rather go in my own clothes, dressed very professionally, but also bringing forth the fact that I am a professional nurse at the end of the day. So please make sure that you are dressed appropriately. You are dressed to impress, most importantly, and please make sure that you have something that makes you smell really good, because when you smell good, you feel good. So that is also another important thing to take note of before you go for the interview. Now that we've sorted out your wardrobe, we've sorted out your interview itself, we've looked at your CV, now it's time for us to get ready for the interview. You make sure that you get there 30 minutes early. As a golden rule, 30 minutes early. You know the route. If it's in an area that you're not familiar with, please make sure that the day before you do go out and see how it is to get, how do you get to that particular organization or company, or where the interview is going to be held, and what is the taxi system if you don't have your own vehicle, what public transport is available to get you to your interview on time. The one thing you need to remember is that the security guard that is going to let you into the premises needs to be greeted with a friendly smile, with the chirpiness, and with great respect for them. They open the door for you, you go in. When you get inside, you go to the reception and you also give them the same hospitality, give them a big smile, give them that energy that you are coming with for the interview. And make sure that in that time, you are not on your phone, because you may be watched by the cameras in the area, in the waiting area that you are waiting for. So please, no cell phones, nothing of that sort. In fact, the thing that you should be doing in this time while you're waiting to be called is to look through your CV and go through the advert all over again, just to refresh your mind. Right? Another important thing that you need to consider is the questions that you are going to ask. You have to have questions. Never walk out of an interview without having asked any questions. The one question you do not ask is salary. Not at this point, because this point we are just doing the initial screening process of you, whether you are going to be a perfect fit for the next level of interview. So never discuss salaries in the first interview. All you do is you ask about the company, you ask about the culture, you ask about what are the expectations in the first 6 months, in the first year of you being employed. Those things really pique the interviewer's interest, to say that you already are planning to work for them and you want to know what the expectation is for you in the first 3 months, 6 months, and a year, depending on their probatory period. Now you are ushered into your interview room. You look at everybody individually, you greet everybody individually that's in the room that's going to interview you. Make sure that you have a good smile on your face, your shoulders are propped up, you are looking comfortable and confident. Okay, the way you carry yourself says more about you than you even opening your mouth. So make sure that you give everybody a smile, you give them eye contact, each and every one of the people on the panel. Right? And then you wait for them to make you sit. They will greet you, they'll say, please come in, take a seat. Right? That is what you do. Now we're going into the interview. You listen attentively. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you did not understand the question. Ask for clarification. It shows that you are conscious of your cognitive reasoning and your understanding. So please make sure that you are answering the questions appropriately. You do not add anything extra unless they ask you, give me an example of a time when, and then you fill in the story. But you fill in the story chronologically. You tell them what the instance was, what was the situation, who was involved, what was the outcome, and all of that. So you've got to make sure that all those things, you've got at least 3 stories in your mind that you will tell with regards to conflict management, with regards to deadlines, with regards to etiquette, with regards to disgruntled customers. So have those questions or those stories in mind in case that question does come up during your interview. And make sure that you are not elaborating and you are not embellishing on the specific story that you are telling them. And also remember, you answer the question to the person that is asking you the question. Make sure that you keep eye contact at all times, and make sure that you are also comfortable and you're looking responsive to the question that they've posed to you. If you don't know the answer that they're looking for, please put it out there. Be as open and honest as you can. If you don't know, you don't know. You haven't had that experience as of yet, so you cannot speak on that particular issue or question. However, do not go in and embellish and tell a story, because you are going to just dig your own grave by telling a whole lot of nothing. It's better to have short answers. If you know, yes, you know. You answer appropriately. If you don't know, no, I'm not familiar with that. I have not experienced that yet, so I cannot answer to it. Also, remember, you need to know your CV, because at one point somebody is going to ask you something particular in your CV. So if you have lied or if you have not been very truthful, that might come up and you will have forgotten exactly what you wrote in your CV. Hence, I said in the beginning, while you're waiting to be interviewed, go through your CV, read everything that is on your CV so nothing catches you by surprise. So your interviewers have now completed their questioning, they've gotten their answers, they're writing down. You will not gauge the interviewer's response or how they feel about you. You will only see by them writing. The more they write, the more interesting or the more facts or points that they need to put down on each and every chart that they have or their interview sheet. At this point, they will ask you, do you have any questions? An example of good questions to ask is, may I ask, why did the previous person vacate this position? They are at liberty to give you an answer, and they may not give you an answer, but then that shows that you are cognizant, or you really want to know the ins and outs of the organization without asking too much and being too invasive. The other question that is very nice to ask is, what are the next steps? After I've done this interview, how long should I wait before I get feedback on this interview, so that you also know for yourself that after 3 days, if nobody calls you, it's safe to say that you were unsuccessful. So that is a very good question to ask. What are the next steps? What should I expect going forward, right? And then you keep to that. If they have extended or they've gone beyond that time that was specified in the interview, you do have the right to ask or to call and find out from HR what the situation is. However, I will do that. If I were you, I would do that very cautiously, because it could go off either way at the end of the day. So just use your instinct whether you need to call them. If not, then leave it be. They will get back to you when they get back to you. Another winning question that you can ask the interviewees or the interviewers, I apologize. Another great question is, what does it take for an individual to be successful in your company or in your organization or in your division? That automatically tells your interviewer that you want to be that person that wants to succeed. You want to know what are the tricks and the traits or the characteristics that are required in order for you to fulfill your job successfully and also have good working experience, good relationships at work, and producing the best that you possibly can, because that is all that we can do. We always produce the best that we can. So your interview is done and it's dusted, and you are now going home and you are going to relax. You need to calm down, you need to breathe, you need to congratulate yourself regardless of how you felt during that interview, because the more interviews you go to, the more comfortable you become. So there's some that you are not going to make, and there's some that are going to be very, very successful. So you congratulate yourself for each and every interview that you successfully have sat through and walked out of the door after that interview. Now here's a little bonus point that I would just like to give to you, my wonderful, wonderful viewers. Another thing that you need to remember is that your LinkedIn profile, if you don't have a LinkedIn, please do make sure that you go and you create a LinkedIn profile, because that's where most of the recruiters and companies are looking through to find their candidates. That's how they look for their candidates in this era that we are in right now. So make sure that your LinkedIn profile is created. You have a beautiful professional picture on your profile. You also would like to have a brief description of who you are, your achievements, your previous work experience, and all of those things are supposed to be on your LinkedIn. And you keep on adding to it as you go along. With the more experience that you get, the better you get and the more information you can add. However, don't go into a paragraph form. Just make sure that it's just the facts that you are putting there, because yet again, remember with the CV story that we spoke about in the previous video, you don't want to have too much information that's going to bombard the person that has clicked on your profile, and there's a whole lot of information, so you keep it concise. Another good idea is to marry your CV with your LinkedIn profile. That way it's very combined, it's concise, it speaks to each other. So if you stayed for this video this long, I'd like to say thank you for watching. If there's anything that you would like to add to this conversation, please don't forget to put it in the comment section down below. And I will see you in the next video. And in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and God bless. Goodbye.